Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, so today I'm bringing you the iPad mini versus the Nexus 7. Now these are the two top 7-inch tablets out right now. The Nexus 7, as you've seen before, did win against all other challengers that were out on the market. And now the iPad mini is coming around, so we're going to see exactly which one is the top tablet. And you know, it really has come close. I want to start that with starting off. And again, I always go to a lot of people to kind of see, you know, which, to see other opinions basically than my own, to see what they think, especially when testing out and showing them all the different things that I do on it. So let's take a look at the starters. So for look and feel, well, for look and feel, in terms of both tablets, they're both very light. The iPad is a little bit lighter in comparison between the two, but not a lot lighter. What I mean by this is basically that if you hold either one, neither one feels really heavy. You can hold both for a long period of time. In terms of thickness, the iPad is going to be thinner out of the two. So definitely a little bit thinner in comparison. And some people like that, some people don't. I have friends that like Apple products and that have do not like that it's becoming so thin. And so it really is just a preference. And I always say that, you know, it really is just a preference between how thin you like it. The one thing I don't like about it is the thinner bezel. Now, another person pointed out in another video that, oh, well, if you don't tap it, it won't detect your thumb on the side. Actually, it still will detect it on the side. So even if I'm right at the edge, it will be able to detect there's movement on the side. So that's one thing that I really don't like, is that, you know, that the screen, you really accidentally hit it a lot of times, and it's something I just found for their new look. And unfortunately, they still kept it 4:3, which I again don't like. Overall, though, I think it's just because it's a little bit of a bigger screen that we're getting, and of course because it is thinner. I will give the look and feel to the iPad mini. It has a nice design to it. I don't like the back in comparison. I feel that the texture is going to be better on the Nexus, especially for holding it for a long period of time. Simply because I just don't like this material, as well as it just it leaves a lot of fingerprints, whereas the Nexus will always remain clean. So that's one thing that I really like about it. So, oops, I guess I went into the calculator there, guys. All right, now let's go right into web browsing. So now if we go into web browsing on Safari and Chrome. So I'm using both, of course, stock browsers that come with it. And first thing I want to point out when it comes to web browsing is Apple lied. And what I mean by that is that Apple made this very arrogant claim at their convention that where they basically said, you know, our tablet is going to give you so much more web browsing capability than our competitor, which they actually showed the Nexus 7. The problem with that is that websites don't work like that, Apple. They actually go by your resolution, which, since the iPad resolution is crap compared to the Nexus 7 resolution, and I say that, you know, very playfully, but you can definitely tell when zoomed in that the Nexus actually has a much sharper text in comparison to the iPad from zoomed all the way out. Now I'm going to show you zoomed in a second, but I just want to first show you that, like, when you're zoomed all the way out, you can actually still read the Nexus, whereas you can't really read the iPad one. It's very, very poor quality. If you want to know the exact resolutions, I don't remember them completely off the top of my head, but I want to say 1280 by 800 versus 1024 by 768, I believe. So even though this is a smaller device, it has a better resolution, and this one doesn't even have the same resolution. So it's just a really bad quality because it's a bigger screen. It should have a better resolution, and since it doesn't, you definitely notice a poor quality in terms of text. Now, in terms of pinch to zoom, whoops, whoa. That was something weird. Okay. Now we're back. Okay. Sorry. My right hand is always better than my left, but I try to make it even. So, no, there you go. And there we go. Now, when we zoom in a little bit, I want to position this so that it's still zoomed out enough. Without actually clicking on anything, which I seem to have an issue doing right now. And I want to leave it, yes. So I'm actually trying to make it, well, I can make it a little bit bigger for, there you go. So I actually had to zoom in a little bit more to make the text similar to this one. Again, simply because you get more screen with this one on a website than you do with the iPad mini. But when you take a look at text, it's actually a lot more legible on here versus on there. It's just not as clear, and it really gets apparent when you're reading more and more. Now let's go to another website. And again, I'll just show you guys, you actually get more of a web page within the, oh, actually this one's going to be a little bit more fair to the iPad. So on this one, more similar to the website, but again, I'm just going to zoom into it just to show you the text difference, and a lot more legible on here, whereas on there, even though this one, you know, is the bigger screen, you can actually read a lot better on the Nexus comparing to the iPad. Now, let me show you that again in terms of book reading. All right, have that one on there. This one on here. And at about this distance, just as we're not zooming in so much this time, just so you guys can get, you know, I made the text purposely bigger so that you guys could read it from further away, and you can again tell that it's just a lot clearer on here in comparison to here. So, just showing you guys, text is just a lot crisper when it comes to the Nexus in comparison to the iPad mini. So now let's go into the movie or music first. So let's go into music. Now music was a little bit difficult, I will tell you guys that, simply because, and I'm going to try to start off at the same point. And turn both all the way up. Now the reason why music is a little bit difficult, I'm going to play this for you guys, and then I'm going to point out why it was kind of harder to get the exact pinpoint on this. And I asked this to several people, and even they were kind of like unsure about it. So let's play the first one, the iPad mini.
Tops on high wheels, we live how we wanna live, cause we got I'm saying though, you know you love this life, tell the don't nobody do you like me, you know. Cavalli dress and high heels and drop tops on high wheels, we live how we wanna live, cause we got meals, them other belly.
Okay, now before I continue, I'm going to continue with just about 5 more seconds. but just so this doesn't get like flagged or anything like that. But the main thing is that I want to point out is that this one is louder, and that's clear to see. This one seems to not get muffled up as much though, especially when you look at the lyrics at the same time as a beat with bass. It's just clear in comparison. So let me play another 5 seconds of it so you guys can keep that in mind. But it's definitely apparent. I'm hoping it goes through on the camcorder, because I know sometimes like you guys tell me, oh no, you're crazy, this sounded better. Like, I'm telling you what everyone says when they're actually playing them live. So trust me, this is what it sounds like. Okay, so yeah, guys, that's kind of the main part of the two. Is that between the two, you get a lot more. You get a little bit more clarity on this one, as where this one gets a little bit muffled up. So I gave it from what most people said. They still like the iPad more in that sense, for the fact that it's louder. So I will give it to the iPad on that one. But in terms of, clarity, I like the Asus more, or the Nexus more. So it's a toss-up between you two. What's your preference? But just letting you know that. And when you plug in headphones in the both, it still goes out that I think this one's a little bit clearer. And again, this one gets a little bit louder. So even with headphones, that's kind of the same thing you get. So again, it's up to you guys what your preference is, but just letting you know. Now, in terms of movies, let's go to the movies. Okay. And we're going to turn the volume down on both of these. And let's turn the volume down. Oops, that's what's up. Alright, guys. And we always try to get both in the screen as much as possible. I'm going to have it zoomed out as much as I can without actually losing the screens. Okay. And here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I want to show you guys, because I feel like my light is making the iPad look a lot brighter than it actually is in comparison. Alright, now I'm going to move both up to the screen. Okay, now okay, I think that's a perfect spot to spot this on. Alright, so in videos, we get the same kind of thing that we've gotten from most of the Android devices in comparing to the iPad mini. For one, in terms of screen size, you actually get a little bit of a bigger screen in comparison. Basically just a little bit bigger in comparison, even though the iPad has a bigger screen. Because of their poor aspect ratio, they do not have a 16:9 ratio, making the 7-inch tablets have a little bit taller screen than they do, just fitting it better off. Yes, you could make the iPad a full screen and then you get a retarded looking video like this, so no one actually does that. Alright, now in this picture, if you just take a look at like something like his hair or any kind of fine detail on here, it's basically kind of bland. On here, you can really see like detail in his hair, as well as just like even like the ropes, everything just looks a lot more detailed in comparison. And this is your overall video that you get with all videos. The video watching is better on the Asus in comparison to the iPad mini. Now, I know this is contrary, to what most people think, because most people would think like, oh, well, no, it's a bigger screen, it has to have a better video quality. Actually, that's not the case here, and that's just, again, poor planning on the iPad for doing a 16 or 4:3 ratio instead of 16:9. I know why they did it, so I get that they wanted to have apps on there, but it just makes the video quality results a lot better on the Asus in comparison to the iPad. All right, now in camera was another interesting one where I'm going to give you guys both opinions and everything like that, and then ultimately have one be the better one, of course. So let's go to the camera app. Photos. And just this photo of myself. This did it. Yes, I know I need a shave, guys. Leave me alone. So, which one had a better photo quality? Now, this is kind of interesting. So, majority of people, when I show them this photo, they actually liked the iPad one more. Now, as a photographer, I'll tell you that I actually like the Nexus one more. And this is the reason why. So, the detail is actually a lot better in the Nexus, and you can see in my stubble that this one just kind of blends it in. I'm trying to put it at the same kind of distance. This one just kind of blends it in, whereas this one actually you can see a lot more detail in comparison and like different lengths of stubble. So it's a lot better off in comparison. Also, this is not the color of my shirt. This is the color of my shirt, which hopefully I can show you. No, it's still looking, if I had more light on it, I could show you that it's this exact color. So here was the trouble with it. Overall, I am going to give this one to the iPad. In terms of just trying to be fair as possible, guys, I do like the picture better on the Nexus, but the main thing is that, on your computer, this will look much better. On a smaller screen, this might look better because of the color, and it looks bold and everything like that. Of course, you can do that kind of editing effects thereafter on here if you wanted it to have that kind of vibrancy and color. But this is clear. This has better color, you could say, or well, not better color, not true. This has clear and truer color. This has a more like vibrant and appealing looking color. So for that reason, though, I will give it to the iPad, although you can see that there's obviously a difference in it. Also, with the camera, it does have a rear one, so, that gives it like an extra bonus point. So, in that, we'll give it to that. In terms of gaming, guys, now if you haven't played games on both, I've tried playing similar games on both, and it really goes down to the Nexus just does better when it comes to gaming. I've tried the same game out on both a couple times and everything like that, and it just it seems better on gaming in comparison, just because the iPad mini still has the iPad 2 graphics card, which wasn't as impressive as like the iPad 3s or the new iPad or the new iPad, iPad 4, whatever you want to call it, which had a much better graphics processor in comparison. So in terms of gaming, it definitely will go to this to the Nexus, just for having the Tegra. It really does really well when it comes to gaming, and they both have a substantial amount of game. You're talking about over 700,000 apps for both devices, so really good overall for that. In terms of battery life is kind of interesting, and again, another one of these closer things between them. Battery life between these two, it goes like this. In terms of standby time, it will go to the iPad. The iPad has a better standby time, I feel. If you don't use both for a long period of time, I feel that the iPad just has it keeps your battery life for a longer period. However, when actually using both devices, the Nexus has a better time. The iPad just drains really quickly when you're using it. I mean, I haven't even used it too much in the past hour, and it's drained over 25%. So that's really something that I definitely notice that you drain the iPad when you're using it more. Because of this, I will give it to the Nexus just because I feel that it really just, when you're actually using the device, is when it's more important. Um, Both will, have a standby time. Like if you don't use it within a day, they will still have both battery. But over a couple of days, if you don't use it, the iPad will. But at that point, I feel like it just charges, kind of thing. Overall, I will give it to the Nexus. Now they both have good parts about them, but I do like having a battery life more than when I'm using it. That I know it's going to last longer. So that's why I give it to the Nexus. In terms of extras, this was another one, again, guys, where it was kind of difficult between the two. So here we go. These guys do not have many extras. I want to start off with that. They both don't have many extras in terms of what they have built in. So here we go between them. The iPad, the only extra that the iPad would have would be the rear camera. And this has been a debate amongst a lot of reviewers. I view almost every other reviewer that's done this review already. And the reason why I like to hold out is because I like to always not only see what other reviewers have to say, see what other people have to say, normal usage, day-to-day usage, and everything like that. So here's what I've gotten for the most part. I, like most reviewers, agree that I'd rather not have a camera in the back simply because I feel that although it is a nice extra, I'd rather save more money and not have a camera in the back. I also feel that any situation when you have a back, when you would need the back camera, you could pull out your phone that you probably have with you and use that instead. That being said, if you didn't have anything else, it is nice to have a back camera. So if you didn't have anything else, that is when the back camera is nice. And that is the extras that the iPad has. Now, what is the extras that the Nexus has? Well, it has a couple. So first I'm going to start off with NFC. That's, of course, the one extra that it has built in that the iPad does not have. NFC basically is near field technology. And you have things like Google Wallet, which can use it built in. So you can actually, make payments with that. And that's going to be a really big thing in 2013. So if you're thinking of an investment for this holiday season, I feel that that is a really good investment to go with. As well as the fact that, as more people get these Android devices, which since Android is the biggest seller right now by far in the world, as more people get these Android devices, more people can transfer everything to each other by just simply touching the back. You just touch this tablet to, the Nexus 4, the Nexus 10, and you transfer over any photo or video instantaneously. And that's really nice that you can do that quickly. It works a lot better than anything else out there. Like the closest thing that iPad has to that is Bump, and that just takes forever to transfer because it uses Bluetooth. The other extra that it has is the micro USB port. Now, why I call that an extra is because of the fact that you will have other micro USB ports that you can use to charge this device, whereas iPad gives you a proprietary one that, if anything, you have to buy more stuff just to use for it to work with it, whereas the micro USB is a universal, a lot cheaper cost, and much easier to find. So that would be a second extra. The last extra I would give to it would be, of course, when it comes to the OS. You do have a lot of extras just because iOS has become stale. I mean, they fired their person that, or let go of the person from the board of directors that made iOS 6. Just simply, even if you look at the lock screens, what you can do with them. In terms of both lock screens, you can actually, on here, on the iPad, you can only basically go to your camera app. On the Nexus, you can actually go move across and view all your text messages, all the text messages that I get from, or emails that I get from you guys, the calendar for appointments, and even change your settings right off from the lock screen. So I just feel like even though you can do like the notifications and everything like that on here, which it's not going right now, but so you can do those kind of things, I just feel like you get a lot more from your device with the Nexus. So in terms of just even extras like that in the OS, they're built into it. And obviously it's the difference between OSs, but that is a really nice extra that you're just really getting more. And especially getting more when we go to our last category, which is price. So in terms of price, guys, it's no secret, $200 starting off for 16 gigs, whereas this one is $330 starting off for 16 gigs. Even 32 gig models, you have $249 versus $429, so it's just a huge difference in price. You just get a lot more bang for your buck with the Nexus. Actually, you can even get the 32 gig 4G or 3G/4G version of the Nexus for still less comparing to the iPad mini. So you just get a lot more bang for your buck. Alright guys, let's tally them up really quick and see who won. So in terms of look and feel, it will go to the iPad mini. Just a little bit thinner design and a little bit lighter, so I will give it to the iPad mini for that. In terms of web browsing, overall web browsing, even though it did have a hiccup while I was using it in this comparison, will go to the Nexus 7. It's just really a lot clearer when you're reading and viewing web pages. You don't have to zoom in like every 2 seconds just to make something clear. As well as the fact that you can still get Adobe Flash on the Nexus if you've watched my videos in the previous past, which the iPad does have no solution for. In terms of music, the iPad mini will get it just a little bit louder. I feel that the Nexus 7 was clear, but again, very close comparison. In terms of movies, easily the Nexus 7, just a very clear, more defined video experience and a bigger screen, funny enough. In terms of camera, we'll give it to the iPad mini. Even though the clarity wasn't as sharp, it does have just the overall better look to it if you're looking at it on a smaller screen. In terms of gaming, it will go to the Nexus 7. Nexus 7 just has a better graphics card in there, and the processor will outperform the iPad mini when it comes to processing for these better higher end games. Battery life, I gave it to the Nexus 7 just because I like having knowing that my battery won't die as quickly when I'm actually using the device as opposed to the standby time. In terms of extras, again, very close between them, but I do prefer the extras on the Nexus 7 with NFC, micro USB, and just the extras in the OS in comparison to the iPad only having the extra of the camera. In terms of price, easily will go to Nexus just because it has less expensive price and you get a lot more for it. So, tallying them all up, it looks like the Nexus 7 is the winner. Again, guys, I wanted to point out every single category. A lot of them can go either way depending on your preference, and that's why I kind of went more in depth on this one. If you guys have any more questions about these two devices, feel free to ask. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.